And we are the Y'all Show from the Dixie Cafe. Hello, good to see you. Good to be with you. Yes, we are on location. Jon Rawl on the Y'all Show. Talk with a southern accent. We've got our Toccopola Storyteller, Jerry Short here.
There you go, John.
And Jerry, we're actually breaking the law here. We're a little bit closer than comfort.
Yeah, let me move over a little bit.
If we're not here next week, you'll know why.
How many meters is it anyway?
The old virus got a hold of us, but we're going to do our best here. Jerry, good to see you again.
Glad to see you too. I haven't seen you in a while.
We often don't have a chance to be side by side, but the Dixie Cafe is gracious enough to let us in here, and we're going to do our part, talking about you and talking about everything that's in Toccopola, US of A here on the show that covers everything in the South. We are the Y'all Show, and we're back here to talk about some things. Now, Jerry, last week we had a little communication problem.
We did have a windstorm, yeah.
We had a little windstorm come through. And because of that, we weren't able to actually finish up your job you had at one time working on the border, not between Tennessee and Arkansas, but the one between Texas and Mexico. And so let's wrap up that conversation, and then we're going to move into something that I know you're just dying to tell us.
I'm dying.
We'll go ahead right now for everybody that's listening and watching to us here on the Y'all Show for some fun here today. And our fun is at y'all.com, by the way. Y'all is the ultimate guide to the South, and I'm certainly repping the Y'all wear here on today's Y'all program. I need to get you a Y'all cowboy hat. But
I got too much hair. Let's wait a little while.
Our interactive question here for everybody as we get a new week of the Y'all going is, can you guess how many jobs this guy, Jerry Short, has actually been employed with? And we'll just say more than a week. If you've worked less than a week, we won't even count those. I'm sure you've had a few of those that maybe...
you can probably give me 2 months.
Okay, 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked a job on a temporary status for about 2 weeks, and I didn't come back gladly. I'm usually a pretty good employee, but a temp agency and me just didn't get along too well. But I want to have you, if you're watching or listening right now, let's chime in, comment. How many jobs has Jerry Short worked in his life? And if we get the right answer, we're going to let go of one of these awesome Y'all caps, and we'll send it your way.
That works for me.
So that's coming up. But before
I'll hold that inside.
Yeah. So, Jerry, let's finish up on your conversation about that job you worked not long ago on that border. You were working in the oil and gas industry, and I think you were pipelining.
Yeah, that time I was doing the security on a pipeline that needed lots of security.
Oh, did you?
And it was out of Toccopola, Texas. Is that the one that we broke up on last time?
Yeah.
I think it was.
You and I broke up officially.
Yeah, we did. So they got in touch with me to come out there on security. They're having a lot of trouble right just north of Laredo, and a lot of the people that was crossing the border, they had a coyote trail or two that came right through the area where they were, and they would even try to start a vehicle up, and one night they ran it through a fence and trying to get away with a 3/4 ton. So I went out there not having a clue where I was going to, but they had called me because I almost went to work for them when I audited BP oil spill. So they called me back, and I went out there to do that. So when I got out there, you couldn't find a place to stay, and the whole town had kind of shut down. All the police had left. Wasn't even any police in that town. They'd gone on up to Eagle Pass where the shell had started and the pipelines were coming out of. But one reason it was because it was too dangerous. The Mexican farmers didn't live on their ranches. A lot of them would buy a house in Laredo, or very few would come in to Las Cruces. You didn't have to worry about going over that way. They was going to stay in that one wad because that was home. But anyway, I was in Las Cruces, New Mexico one time, and that way everybody kind of got together over there and kind of lived like in a commune. But they didn't do this around Laredo, so I kept looking for a place, and I couldn't find a place. So every morning when I would get off, I'd go into work about 6 in the afternoon and get off at about 7 in the morning or a little later. And the only place it's on Interstate 35, which runs all the way from I call it the Highway of Horror, because if you can think of something bad, it happened on it. The Oklahoma federal building blew up on 35. The Koresh deal that Janet Reno burned them out at Waco's on 35, and It just seems like I can just think of something constantly on 35 at me. But Waco, that time at Fort Hood, somebody ran through that field out there, and then they had to murder. They had to murder at Fort Hood. So that's on 35. So
The murder, which murder?
it was the one that the officer killed.
You talking about on the
In post.
Army,
In
yeah.
post, yeah.
And don't forget about 2 years ago or so, they had that awful shootout at a restaurant with biker gangs.
That's right, at the biker gangs, and it also is pretty doggone close to where that church was shot up.
Oh, yeah.
And so many people were killed.
Stay away from I-35.
Stay away from I-35 around that area right there for sure. So anyway, I'd go get under the bridge and park and try to stay in the shade, because that whole month, that first month I was out there, it got below 100 degrees only one time, and it got down to 99. So I would get under there, but the sun would catch me by about 10:30 or 11, and I'd have to come out of there. So that'd be about all the sleep I'd get. Well, I would go through kind of a drive-through place they had that you could drive through and order Coke or something like a hamburger maybe. And you drive your vehicle in there and they'd hand it to you. And they didn't have a virus, but that's the way it was working. So I went in there and I asked a guy one day with a store next to it, they had a phone number on it. I said, "Do you think I could rent that and sleep on the floor?" And they said, "No, but my brother's got a place, Chavez Ranch, out here." It was a pretty good sized Mexican ranch on the down on the river, not the Rio Grande, but Nueces, and Las Nueces. And I said, "Anything." And he said, "Are you sure? Let me tell you a little bit." I said, "No, I'll take anything." So he said, "Let's ride down there." We rode down there. And he showed me 3 rooms that had been deaths in. And one of them was an awful thing, when a child was killed. And then one person died in another room. And then somebody was beat to death in another room. And it was in an area that run right along that old river run. Where, well, it runs into it. It does run into the Nueces.
Oh.
But on down.
Oh.
And since you mentioned that right quick, I think that's a George Strait song.
It is.
He learned this.
All my exes live in Texas.
Well, he don't want to go diving off of that bridge, because where that bridge came into the Nueces River, it was dry, but it had a sign on it, "No diving from bridge." I never forget that. So I took a picture or two of that for my picture collection. But anyway, I stayed down there, and it got where it was kind of rough, and people kept asking me, "Why are you staying down there?" So I decided, I saw an old Airstream mobile home I wanted to buy. So I went and talked to them, and it was a Mexican family, but they were scared to stay on their farm. And she started telling me, "Look, you got a coyote trail coming through you. You got all this stuff coming. It's a bad place where you are. You do need one of these." So they sold me one of their Airstreams, but it needed a good bit of work on it. But I pulled it down there to this place. But you never saw so much stuff in your life that come through there at night. It was unbelievable. They had a coyote trail that come here, and they had one of those trees where they would take advantage of people and throw stuff up in the air. Well, nobody could find a place to stay then. Now, it's built up pretty good in that town now, but when I was there, it wasn't built up very good. So when the when the superintendent for excuse me, when the superintendent for safety came up, he was looking for a place to stay. Well, superintendent of the pipeline told him that I had a ranch, and so he went down to my ranch that night, and I showed him. I said, "Now here's where you stay in this room over here." But I wouldn't even stay in a room. I stayed in the front room in a chair in my military sleeping bag, and I still got bit by scorpions, and my legs swelled up about 2 sizes too big. But anyway, that guy stayed there, and I went on around, and I got to be pretty good friends with a lot of the local Mexicans, and they wouldn't get out at night until about midnight.
Were they Mexicans? Or
Yeah,
were they
no, they're real Mexicans.
But I mean, were they?
They're American Mexicans.
I mean, are they from like a couple generations?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know, the people I bought the Airstream from were Mexicans, but he was a retired Navy officer.
Okay.
And
He was
lived in
American. He
Laredo.
just happened to be from.
Yeah.
His
He was from
family
that
came
part.
across the Rio Grande at some point.
That part of the world. But anyway, I let him go stay down there. Well, I went on, made some rounds, and went on down to a few other places, and come back around the river and come back through town. Well, town was about dead except for a couple of bars. And I saw his company pickup sitting there, the safety directors. And I pulled in, I went in, and I said, "What are you doing in here?" He said, "Shoot, I'm not staying in there one more minute." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Look, I lay down here and I look up. And, you know, their religion, they had crosses and they had the Last Supper was everywhere. And that was spooking him as he kept seeing all that. And he said, and somebody died over there." And I said, "Look, it's no big deal." I went in there, there's a bunch of syringes in there. I said, "Probably took an overdose or something." I wouldn't worry about it. I said, "You know, that happened 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago." But he said, "I'm not staying there. Let's get us a place somewhere else." Well, I didn't, but he did. He left me. And I couldn't get anybody else to stay down there because it seemed like just about every other night I'd have a bad trouble or something would happen. And one night I had to run the guys down and went in a place that they would steal, when they'd come across the border, they would steal a lot of them wanted ice water coolers, those 5-gallon coolers.
Yeah.
They'd steal them off all our equipment. And then they'd have a group of them and they'd go take them back in this area. At one time was truck farm country in the 50s. But they'd had a big drought out there in the early 50s. And at 6 o'clock at night, a dust storm would come through. And I couldn't have saw you when that dust storm would come through every night. Never missed. Every night, 6 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. And so, anyway, make a long story short on that house down there, it got pretty rough down there, and I had a mascot made in Mexico down in Laredo. It was a Colonel Rebel, if you've ever seen one.
Yes.
It was 9 foot tall, and I put it down there. Well, it kind of become a landmark for people to come look. They'd get up on the hill and they'd look down there, and what is that down there, you know? But anyway, we had that down there, and finally one day the guy asked me, he said, that owned the place, he said, "You mind if I've got a Mexican that's he's actually a surveyor." He said, "You think he will stay with you? Is that all right?" And y'all cut the price in half. And gosh, it was almost nothing now because I was getting good per diem. So you know, although I wasn't getting really good quality living, but I was getting per diem. And I let him stay down there a little while. And he was a Romeo, and he'd try to pick a girl up to take her home to watch TV or something. And they'd get down there and she'd say, "Is this the Chavez ranch?" "No." "Turn around, I'm not going in here." Wouldn't go in the door.
Right.
Wouldn't go in the gate. And so I never could. So he finally got mad at me and he bailed out. So I finished up down there with a few instances, no need getting into all of them, but I had to run down a couple of people in bars and things from stealing stuff from us and doing some damage. But it come through, and if you saw at a distance, if you looked off and you saw buzzards swarming like you would here,
Yeah.
you know, it might be a cow or it might be a horse or something like that. Down there, it would be a human. It was somebody that had come through down there. So people had never been around that border down around in Webb County. That's Webb County on the South Parish. I mean, the South Parish in Louisiana on South. I did buy mineral leases in the South Parish.
Is that northwest Louisiana?
No, it's just south of Shreveport. It's
That's what I meant, northwest.
yeah, northwest, very northwest corner, except for Cato, which is Shreveport, but Cato Parish. But anyway, I enjoyed it down there, and I enjoyed doing that, and didn't want to leave, and I found me a dog down there that my kids still have, but I wouldn't take anything for them having, but it was a good deal, and that was just one of many jobs. And what I was thinking about.
Well, and we're going to go through all the jobs as quick as we can in the next segment.
Okay, suits me. You want me to line them up?
Is that going to take you a minute to line them up?
No, I can go now.
No, we're going to have you wait because we got to take a break. We got my job, believe it or not, Jerry, I actually have a job. My job is the host of the Y'all Show, and hopefully this will be my last job. So I don't want to go through the more than 2 jobs you've had in the last 50 years. So we're going to continue to talk about Jerry Short, his employment history. I'm going to go through the background. We're going to do a background check on you. How's that sound?
Ooh, I don't know. We'll find out.
And we're going to do all of that when the Y'all Show comes right back from the Dixie Cafe. Stay with us.
Okay. Okay.
And we're back on the Y'all Show, talk about the South, and make sure you check us out on our Facebook page, and that's y'all.com. That's where you'll find us. We also have other great social media outlets for you, like our Instagram feed, and check out Y'all there as well. Good to have you back. We got our Toccopola Storyteller, Jerry Short, on with us for one more segment as we wrap up this kickoff to the week. And Jerry, in the previous segment, was walking us through the incredible job he worked on the border between Texas and Mexico. Rough job there with the scorpions and all. That job, in addition to his job here working at the Y'all Show as the Toccopola Storyteller, is just one of a bunch of jobs. So Jerry, we don't have all day, but if you don't mind, try to kind of skip through the various jobs you've enjoyed, if you want to use that word, and then going back to what we said previously, if you happen to guess, and you need to get your guess in, let's say within 1 minute, of how many jobs he's actually had that we can count up here. If you are the first person to correctly guess that amount, we've got this awesome Y'all ball cap. We'll send your way some swag for the South coming your way. So Jerry, we talked about working on the border with Mexico. What else you got up there? Short sleeve.
We're going to start early. Okay. Of course, you got to say farm. And it did everything on the farm. That includes lots of stuff.
That would be a dairy farm.
No, that would be a cattle farm with Herefords. You know, it would be Hereford cattle. Also, we had a pig farm. Also, we had horses. Also, we had cotton, and we had corn, and we had all that. So you throw all that in.
Easy work.
Yeah, easy work. And then you get past that, then I work for a city. You know, that was mostly grass cutting with a Briggs and Stratton lawnmower or something like that, you know. A Yazoo.
How much money?
$50 a week, by gosh, in the summer. I did in the summer. And then after that, let's see, pipeline come through. Left on a pipeline. Come back and went to college.
Easy work.
Come back and made well, no, I didn't come on straight back. I went on to J. Ray McDermott at Morgan City, Louisiana. I ran a crane. First I ran a truck crane, turned it over, then they gave me a crawler.
What kind of work?
It was in a shipyard where they made oil rigs. We shipped one of them to the North Sea out from England, one of the biggest ones in the world. And I worked on a gantry as a oiler. And as an oiler, that's about 75 foot up in the air, and it moves on a railroad track. And he boomed down, and he said, "Here, take this grease gun, get out there and those pulleys, you need to grease them up." So then I hurt my leg, and they put me as a roustabout. Then I was a roustabout.
Can you explain what a roustabout is for those who don't know?
Roustabout was just checking up on everything that was going on in that
an easy job.
Pressure. Easy job. Yeah, because I had a hurt foot at the time. So then they gave me a rigger job. So I took it to rigger, and that was hooking up and putting scaffolding and stuff up on these high 7,500 foot in the air deals. And I told them when I took the job I wasn't scared of heights. But it's a good thing I climbed.
Was that true?
I wasn't really scared of them, but by gosh, you know, you get up there and you're hanging on with a cable with one foot, and you're going up in the air, and you're going out the top, and then you're taking you're straddling a board that they use for a welder to weld on, and you put it in brackets when you get up at 75, 80, 90 feet in there. So then they give me the crane, then I turn it over. Then they give me a crawler crane, and I took that crawler crane. But then I came back to school for a little while, and Bummer, I know it. And then I went back down there. And so when I went back down there, a hurricane had just come through. So I worked for Louisiana Power and Light. And we was putting telephone poles back up going to Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way down through there. And I had to learn how to climb, so
another easy job. What is it with you and all these little...
I know, and it was an easy job. So I had that job. Are you counting?
And, I'm not counting, actually.
And so I counted today or yesterday.
Let me get my pen and paper out.
You already missed about 10.
Okay.
But anyway, then from that job, I worked for a construction company that the hurricane had knocked out the water plant. And then
I think, if I had to guess here, we're still in the 1960s.
Oh yeah, we're 60.
We haven't even got to the 70s.
No, we're 65 maybe.
Okay.
And so after that, it gets a little where I kept my jobs a little longer the older I got. So but it was always a pretty good job. So I did that. So then went to work for Texaco offshore at Lake Pelto, and we'd go out by boat or we'd go by helicopter. And those Cajuns didn't want you going down Bayou Terrebonne too fast. They'd shoot at you if they made a wave.
Really?
Yes, sir. The boat captain knew to shut that thing down when he went by. When you got out of areas where they didn't have roads in there, where the Cajuns was down there catching crawfish and whatnot, you shut it down. You didn't put a wave. You didn't put a wake on them. So then I worked offshore doing that. And when you first go out there, the first thing they do, they make you work in the kitchen area. And before you go to the field to be a roustabout. Well, I did that for, like 3 or 4 tours. And they all spoke French, and they listened to a Galliano, Louisiana French station. And there was no English spoken. So when one of them would tell me something, I'd ask him what, and he'd say, "Oh, I forgot you're not one of us." But then I got on out checking in I got a boat, and then I got to going out checking all that stuff as a rigger, so it was okay. And then after that, the Army came calling. And
another easy job.
like, yeah, that really got easy, So I go to basic and I go do all that good stuff, And but when I'd come back down there, I forgot about that National Guard deal. My landlady knew politics, and I went in her house one day and she said, "Look, you don't want to go to Vietnam." She says, "Go to Knoxville, Louisiana, immediately and see Captain White and sign up." And I jumped ahead of about 400 people in line trying to get in the Guard. And I got up there, and he signed me up. And back then they'd have a meeting every Monday night. And with the first formation I was in, everybody's name was Boudreaux, Chavez, Blanchard, Daig, Aquay, or something like that. And then they called a roll, and then it said short. And they'd break formation, everybody looked around. Where'd this guy come from?
Outsider.
Yeah. So then I did that. Then I came back to Memphis and I ran a backhoe and equipment. That's how I got in good with Elvis's daddy Vernon. So after that deal, and I'll tell you something that happened it's real quick and real funny. But I thought I was really good. I thought, sometimes you think bigger is better, faster is better, and all this. So I thought faster was better with a backhoe. And I was really good, and we were out at the Humpco place on North Thomas Boulevard in Memphis.
The what place?
Humpco. It's lard and grease and whatever else they make.
Easy work here.
Yeah. But no, I was out there running a backhoe, and I dug a hole. They wanted a hole. They was adding some equipment to the place, and the hole had to be pretty big, and the only way you could do it was take a Case Construction King backhoe. That's what I was running. I went down in the ground as far as I could throw the dirt back out, so I was probably about 15 feet under the ground. In the middle of it, we busted the concrete out inside the building. It had an overhead crane on it. And the guy from California, the contractor from California was doing it. He come to me and he said, "You want to go to California? You're the fastest backhoe operator I've ever seen." And I said, I might do that. But my boss told him, he said, "You don't want him." He broke the gas line out at the Jewish Convention Center on Union, and we had to shut the highway down. Then he pulled all the wires.
Is that true?
Yes, true. He said he pulled all the wires loose over at the American Greeting Card Company, and the phone company stayed out there trying to connect all those little wires together while they cussed me out. And then one night I was at Lay's potato chip place on Lamar, and no, that was on Airways. And I pulled in there and I broke the water line. Well, I didn't think nothing about it. And the head of the Lay's potato chip place, he comes out and he says, "You put us out of business. I've had to lay everybody off." I said, "It's nothing but a water line." He said, "How do you think we wash those potatoes? So make this. So that was another one. So then I did some surveying, and then that guy got me on with International Paper. And I did a lot of timber management in acquisition, and I got into acquisition. Then I got into deacquisition and management, and then so that was about 20 years. So, then when I left there, I started. Well, I guess the first thing I did, stayed in business for myself, just as a buying land and timber and stuff like that, as a consultant. And then as a consultant, then I went on and I went back to Louisiana to had a really good job offer down there. And so I went back down there to Texaco. They'd held that job for me a long time, but I didn't stay but a couple months because I was ready to come back home. So I come back up here, and then we did the bread route. I about forgot about it. I think we talked about it.
Still hadn't got out of the 60s. We're talking with Jerry Short, our Toccopola Storyteller.
Yeah. Well, no, I was with International Paper, and I was with for myself. Then I ended up, and I've had some really big jobs that were way over my head. I've never had anything under me because there's not such a thing as something that would be under me. But I know when I was buying oil and mineral leases for Chesapeake Oil Company, I closed out a deal with Tango Trucking in Shreveport, and I had to give them 2 drafts for. They had 2 men. One guy had sold his land to a guy, and he had half mineral leases, and we were given a fortune. It had gotten up to $25,000 an acre just for the mineral rights, not royalties. And so I ended up I stayed there and took care of that whole deal by myself for $20 million. Yeah, that was a little bit over my head. And the main man was in a meeting in Chicago. He'd left Oklahoma City, and he called me 2 or 3 times to see how it was going. Because it was a top lease that we did. I was called a landman. I did that about 7 years. I did it in Alabama, and I did it in Louisiana, and I did it in Mississippi, and I did it in Texas. So after that one, let's see, where were we? After that, blah, blah, blah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, maybe on that particular job, when you handed a guy a $20 million check, it was nonchalant the way he received it. It was like no big deal that he got a $20 million check.
No, it wasn't him. But he was a big-time operator, and I know at the time he had about 90 trailer trucks. Okay. And he had his 2 or 3 people in there. He had his legal secretary in there, and they were both in there, and we had paperwork scattered all the way down a big long table that they had to sign so much stuff. Anyway, his man that worked for him had been over Great Northern Railroad in Chicago. And he had hired him away from them. He told me, he said, "Golly, you made a killing today, didn't you?" He said, "I bet you made, what'd you make, a couple $100,000?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "No, I made 200, about $250 probably." He said, "You mean you're not on strictly commission like that?" I said, "No, when we come over here, we were given $150 an acre for this, so I could make more money straight." And I knew who had ever dreamed that this shale, it was called the Haynesville oil shale. I said, who would have ever dreamed this thing would get up to where you're giving $25,000 an acre? So anyway, did that thing, and then
we got to zip through it because we're running out of time.
Well, then I went to pipelining and blah blah blah. Some on the side. Then I did the BP oil spill. They thought I was an accountant, which I did good to get through accounting in high school. And I was over a lot of CPA guys that came in, and I trained some of them to audit. I had like 20,000 people working for me, and 2 major contractors, one out of North Carolina, and then the other one out of New Orleans, HEPCO and USS. So anyway, I've been a jailer for a little while.
That's right. I remember that was in the last couple of years.
That's
you
when
worked
I was
at a jail.
building that house, and I decided. I was redoing that house I bought to sell, and I become a jailer. And I could go on and probably. I'm sure I forgot.
Let me try to help you remember. You worked at a restaurant. You kind of managed a restaurant in the last decade.
Managed a barbecue restaurant.
Mark managed a
4 months.
Little Dewey.
Yeah.
Give them a nice shot for all of our Mississippi State fans.
That's right.
You have also worked as a newspaper sports writer.
Oh, that's right. See, and I did that mostly.
Might not have got paid a lot.
But I could do that for 25 years.
Yeah.
I covered that as a photographer for them, and every football game, every basketball game, everything they had.
Hey, another job that I just thought of. You have been a coach.
That's right. I was called that by a banker just the other day, this week. When I had to call about it, she said, "Coach Short, where have you been?" And so so you just start putting it all together, and you don't realize,
you've done a lot.
So
and I'm going to have to go back and review the tape here and actually count out how many jobs that we can think of.
That's right. But
so we can have a winner to our contest.
But however, it's that old saying it goes. You've done a lot of stuff. but I'm a master of none.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you work so many jobs because you were just a lazy, worthless employee?
No, I never left a place I couldn't go back, which
I know you get essentially good for you. You get 2 jobs that you have worked in the past. You still make some money off of thanks to retirement. One of those was your work in the timber industry.
Military.
But the other thing was I was going to give you a nice pat on the back here. You are a honorably discharged member of the military.
And I did so many different jobs in the military, you couldn't count them.
Right.
So, and there's one other that I was just thinking about that I did too. What was it? And I forgot it. But
co-host of the Y'all Show.
Co-host, on Monday.
On Mondays of the Y'all Show, talking with a Southern accent. All right, we got to go. Real quick though, if I could give you one job that you'd love to do and never take any of those other jobs, and one job you'll never do again, what are those 2 jobs?
Probably buying oil mineral leases as a landman, which that's not going
good or bad?
It's good.
You love that?
I love that because it wasn't really physical. It's all mental, and it was a lot of mental stuff. And then
worst job?
I guess when I was just over acquisition for land and timber for International Paper, which had lasted to just on land. We quit buying land and when interest went to 20% in 1980. So from say 75 to 80, that would have been the best part if I could do that all the time. If interest hadn't went so high, and we kept buying timber.
But you hated that job?
Not that part. Not that 5 years of it.
But what was the worst job of all the ones you've worked? The one you don't ever want to do again?
The one I don't ever want to do again would probably be, well, there's a lot of them I couldn't do again physically, but I guess being down in those woods with those snakes hanging over me and swimming through the water.
I thought you'd love that.
Well, I did, but I said I couldn't do it today.
Yeah.
But if you want to say if
the one you have nightmares about.
The one I have nightmares about? Getting old, I guess.
Okay.
It
sounds like he's ready to go take any of those jobs back, and we're happy for him. Jerry Short, our Toccopola Storyteller, and we're going to keep
farming. I like farming.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully you like being on the Y'all Show as a Toccopola Storyteller.
That's good, yeah.
Maybe the career, the apex of your whole career.
Yeah, I think I could be a Jerry Clower. Did I ever tell you what Jerry Clower told me?
Yes, we've talked about that.
Okay, well, I'll tell you again some other day.
Yeah, in one job that's unofficial that he never got paid for, he's been a fighter.
That's true.
He's been bad news in a lot of ways.
They've called me a lot of times to come break this up or start it.
Yeah. So, with all of that, hopefully, again, we're all going to have to go back and count up the jobs he's held. Jerry Short, this guy, Toccopola Storyteller, thank you for coming on the Y'all Show and reliving your employment history.
You're welcome.
And we're not going to hire you. If I have to do a background check, no way, Jose.
Whoa, one more. I just got hired to do the census.
That's right, you has been. But we're not sure if you're actually going to get hired.
I was hired. It says I'm hired. They were just trying to find out when I can go to that school to start in the field. And the reason I did that, my mother took the census for Lafayette County in 1950. So I decided I wanted to do it if she did it in 1950.
Family tradition.
That's right. Okay.
Jerry Short, thank you. Thank you to the Dixie Cafe for hosting this segment of today's Y'all Show. We have got a great show coming your way on Tuesday. We're going to get a little political. It's our Southern Political Report, and Julio Rivera is going to be on. And he's with the reactionarytimes.com. He's a founder and one of the main editors of that website that's very political. He is a guy that's got Puerto Rican ancestry, and it's going to be real fun talking to him about Puerto Rico and its connection to the South. There's some similarities for sure, but we'll also talk about conservative politics with Julio Rivera. That on our Tuesday Y'all Show. And as well as Julio coming on, we're going to go to our Toccopola, we're going to go to our barbecue barrister. Matt Heermans will be on, and we'll have plenty of good Q talk all coming up on the Tuesday Y'all Show. Thank y'all for being on the Y'all Show with us for the journey and walking down Jerry's memory lane.
Boy, what a memory.
We'll see you back here on Tuesday.